Hello, everybody. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving and stuff. Figured I would make a video going over some different PvP builds at different level brackets for Paladin. I think at 20, this is kind of it right here. Your Retribution, Pickup Scylla Command, Pursuit of Justice, because we don't have a gap closer, so 8% move speed is good because I don't think you can get the move speed enchant on boots yet. Conviction. You can play with the points here between improved judgment and just more deflection. I think either is fine, I guess. I would probably try deflection first, but we are getting so much more damage that maybe just lowering cooldowns and trying to get the fight over with as soon as possible is just going to be the way to go. So Retribution and PvP, you just want to stack strength stam. Get as much damage as you can with some survivability in there. Let's see, and next, level 40, we have a deep Retribution tree where we go 505 deflection, you get improved judgment, 505 conviction that lead into 505 vengeance. Command, Pursuit of Justice, two-handed weapon specialization. I like eye for an eye over like just some random points and anything else. Your worst matchups are going to be mages, so this can help with that a little bit. And of course, Repentance, giving you another gap closer, is going to be really good at level 40. Because we still don't have any sort of way of getting on them, you know. You kind of have to go engineering as a paladin and give you any up and any sort of advantage in PvP at all. Of course, that's true for every class. I don't think anybody's not going engineering that's going to be PvP and still. They would have to change the other professions around quite a bit. At 40, there is the option of going down into protection and picking up reckoning. This would also allow you the ability, since there are just some throw around points, to pick up kings and improved righteous fury, 4 or 5 toughness and stuff to maybe tank with the same build. So if you happen to be with a group of friends and you're tanking dungeons, leveling with them, this could be a really good option. Reckoning is just going to be extremely powerful, kind of dependent on like the weapons that you can get at 40. There are some pretty good two-handers, some decent one-handers too. Even though this is like has holy shield and stuff, this isn't necessarily a sword and board build. It's just you don't have enough points at 40 to get anything in either of the other trees worth anything. So it's like you might as well go this route and then be better off against classes where you need to go sword and board, as opposed to just picking up a few of these points in the early tree here. Because, I mean, past filling up Reckoning, you don't have enough to get to anything else. Now you notice here too, I've got Avenger's Shield as opposed to the Exorcist. The thought is now, I believe I've seen that this is instant cast as opposed to the 1 second cast time. But even at a 1 second cast time, this is still really good in PvP because you can just make a macro to weapon swap and cast this ability to give you the slow to kind of help with our lack of gap closers and the fact that you don't like have Repentance, right? So that's probably the better choice over Exorcist or anything else. So what I'm thinking, Avenger Shield just might be the go-to. If it is instant cast, you just want to always carry a sword and board, which I mean you need to do anyway as a paladin if you're really serious about PvP, and as there are classes that you just sort of auto win by using a sword and board. So Avenger Shield, if it's instant cast, even if with the 1 second cast, is probably just the way to go, because this 10-second daze is just, it's so much. It's so good. I imagine this is probably going to be getting nerfs at some point. Then we get into the level 50 trees. Now the 50 trees is when things get really interesting, because you can go with like more of a traditional reckoning build. Because you can come down here and you can get Seal of Command, you can get Pursuit of Justice, you can get 3 of 5 Conviction. And this is more of a, strength stamp still. This, like, I guess I should go back and mention here too, like, when you are playing like more of a reckoning build, this isn't about just going for the pop. You kind of want to prioritize survivability, because you don't have a gap closer. So stam over strength. Like, you want strength stam pieces, but you want them to be high stam over high strength. Whereas when you go into like a retribution build, you want it kind of the opposite. So here again, you want a high stam build with some strength. Get the best two-hander that you can, and just try to survive to get there. And what's really good about the protection tree is you get the 3% hit, and you get the reduced cooldown on Blessing of Protection with the 6-second increase on Blessing of Freedom. Do not count that out. That is really good. And then of course 15 seconds off of Proved Hammer of Justice. So it's got a lot of utility built into the protection tree. It's actually quite good for PvP. And then we get over here, and at level 50, this is where I think you could finally play a decent Holy Reckoning build. Holy Reckoning, you kind of just want to stack Stam Int. And this is where you're more looking to be sort of like a group play. You still got the utility of like, the Guardian's Favor. You got Blessing of Kings and stuff. Reduce cooldown on your stun. But here you're using Seal of Righteousness for your extra damage in your Reckoning Burst. You get to go Spiritual Focus for the reduced knockback on your cast times, which is really good. And then just Consecration if you want it. I think this could be quite solid at the level. Like, we don't really know what kind of group stuff that we're getting, if every level bracket is also going to come with like some world PvP event, like in Ashenvale. I could imagine there being an Arathi Basin thing in Arathi Highlands, and then do a raid in Arathi. They could change Stormguard Keep or whatever that is, that you have to constantly run back and forth to do quests. They could just make it a dungeon, make all the quests something that you do in one run of it. That'd be kind of cool. And that way you have your War Song tied thing, and then you have your Arathi Basin tied thing, and then they could do an AV tied thing. I think that'd be kind of neat. And kind of that's what I'm expecting them to do. But going back to this is going to be surprisingly good. This will grind out people to dust. This is sort of really contingent on just how bursty does the meta get. Like, is it really just kill the other person before they kill you? Like, you just gotta roll up on them and face roll your keyboard, slam everything into each other, and just see who survives. Then this really isn't the thing. But in traditional Classic, you did get into a lot of really grindy fights, and Holy Reckoning is just the meat grinder. Like, you can just grind people out with this like you wouldn't believe. You are extremely hard to kill. You heal pretty well. You get a lot of damage from Reckoning, and now you're actually going to have all this extra damage. And this could also just be a sword and shield scenario depending on how good your one-hander is. In the 40s, 50s, I got on, 60 upgrades, started looking at stuff. There's some really solid one-hander options that are actually pretty close to top-end damage with some two-handers. So it's not a bad idea just depending on what you have. Of course, when you're a Reckoning spec, you just want the highest top end and stuff that you can, because you're getting the extra attacks in with Reckoning. The caveat there being like weapons that have good procs that you might want to use. Those really don't come into play until like a bit later with like Hand of Edward the Odd and stuff. But like here you can get Hammer of Northern Winds at 49. Go up, hit somebody with a wreck bomb. This has a decent 108 damage high end. But then you also, proc this Frostbolt to apply a slow when otherwise, you don't have a slow. But, roll drop, probably not going to get that early on. It's going to be probably kind of hard to get. But then there's other like proc weapons like this that, will get you that dot on them more likely when you're hitting them so many times. Because some things have can actually proc off of Seal of Righteousness. Like Hanzo's sword would be alright, but it's pretty fast for that. There was something that has like if you got the two-hander, you could go Dark Iron Pulverizer at 50. That's actually disgusting. I kind of forgot about that. That's you never use that at level 60, but at level 50, this might just be the way to go. 8-second stun. It's a really low proc chance, but I mean, you get 5 times the proc, chance to proc it in a wreck bomb, so maybe it's pretty good. But there are just one-handers too that have some random procs. Oh, like right here, Lincoln Sword at Ngaro. It's not too bad. If you get that extra blast on there, depending on its proc rate, could be decent enough. So I'm going to stop recording here and I'll add in 60 builds. Okay, now onto the 4 main PvP builds that you're going to have at level 60. You have your sort of traditional Deep Retribution build, where you come down Proved Might. You can just go Benediction here too. It sort of depends on our mana issues, but I think Crusader's Drag is just going to fix all our mana problems, and you're not going to care about Benediction as much. Deflection, Improved Judgment, Conviction, Seal of Command, Pursuit of Justice, Eye for an Eye, 200 Weapon Spec, Vengeance, Repentance. And then you come into the Protection tree, grabbing Redoubt, Guardian's Favor, Precision, and I like 5 out of 5 Toughness, as opposed to trying to come down and get Consecration. You can cut this stuff out, lose a point of Precision, and do something like this, right? Or probably more of this, where you do have the option of maybe tossing some heals. Maybe you don't need the full 3% hit for PvP if you got some hit gear, and Consecration might help. It is pretty mana intensive, but you might help you knock some people out of stealth or something like that. I don't really tend to care for it a lot when I'm actually PvPing Deep Ret. I kind of just like the extra toughness. Also, you can pick up Blessing of Kings, I guess. But I tend to just like the might. But as the game goes on, kings gets to being a lot better than might anyway. So if you're at a point where just might is better than, or kings is better than might, you know, just go benediction. So, because you also get divine strength. So divine strength stacking with the blessing of kings is pretty good. Again, this is sort of like you want this strength over stamina kind of thing with crit and hit and stuff. Just sort of get in there and read out and stuff again helps you go with the sword and board matchups, because I imagine that still might be a thing at 60 where against certainly like against rogues and stuff, if you know you're going to get opened on by a rogue or a druid, if feral druids are running rampant, keep the shield on as you're farming, and that way you just don't die to their opener too easily. Next, we'll get into Ret Reckoning, which is maybe my favorite PvP spec. This is again like a stam over strength, because you don't have the extra help in getting that gap closer with repentance. So you're more reliant on just taking a beating as you're going in. So again, read out in the shield spec, toughness, guardian's favor, precision, kings, improved hammer of justice, and 5 out of 5 reckoning. But what's really good here is that you finally at 60 get enough points to get down to vengeance, so you can get that 3% damage bonus. So actually, you can't really put more points into it, but it is pretty nice still. Like if you have vengeance up when you go for a wreck bomb, it's noticeable. So you get the extra crit and stuff. This is definitely like sort of a two-handed build where you're looking to just really pop somebody once you've gotten the your reckoning up. And then you get into the Holy Reckoning build, which Holy Reckoning gets to be a lot nicer. You have the same reckoning points in the protection tree, but then you come over here, get improved intellect and righteousness, healing light. I like unyielding faith. It's kind of nice when it procs. Illumination, but then you also get divine favor for a nice guaranteed crit heal, which will return the mana on the heal too. So this could be like really nice in certain things where you are trying to just grind people out. This is really good setup for that. Again, no gap closer, so I think like Avenger Shield might just be the thing where you swap to that and stuff. I don't think I did that on the last one. Yeah. But since you don't have the gap closers in your Reckoning builds, you don't have much range damage. Using the Avenger Shield to get that daze and allow you to catch up to your opponents probably going to be very important. And then lastly, something that I don't think you can really do PvP wise until level 60, of course, is the Shocking build. Which the Shocking build doesn't really get good until like AQ 40. But man, it gets really fun when you get to AQ and you get all these cool different damage trinkets and stuff, and you really just have a lot of options. The thing that really sucks is this 30-second cooldown on Holy Shock. Even guaranteeing the crit though is pretty cool. Allow you to snipe some kills. This is again very grindy, even though you don't have like the Reckoning to kind of like push damage on people. But there's some classes where you're not going to get Reckoning stacks off of them anyway. Like if you're fighting a priest or something, it just doesn't really matter. But whereas like being able to keep people in combat, stop them from like drinking and getting resets off and stuff, can be really good with Holy Shock. Not sure here. Like I think again, like the Avenger Shield thing might be a thing, but this isn't so much a I'm going to just auto you down kind of build. Like that is how it ends up, but this is way more defensive. Like paladins can always pivot into a very defensive playstyle, as you are sort of the attrition king of classic WoW. Like if somebody tries to make it an attrition fight against you, well then they've already lost. Just instead of chasing them and really trying to push offensively, if they're really trying to run from you and kite you around, get heals off and stuff, just heal yourself up and drink and say, if this is what you want to do, I can do this all day. You know, you will eventually die. I won't. So this is just really good. And of course, you know, this spec does just allow you to heal. I think you can, if I'm not mistaken, I think you can, yeah, you can pick up kings too. You can actually tank with this build very well. It really doesn't matter your build. I was tanking 5-mans a lot on my paladin in classic just by switching into tank gear. But it is nice that you have Holy Shock to pull. You know, back in the day when you didn't have anything else. That was, I really kind of liked it just for that, just to have a ranged pull. But you know, you won't need that now with Avenger's Shield and stuff. Don't sleep on this build if you guys actually haven't tried PvP and Shakaden. I actually highly recommend it, and just getting kind of used to this really defensive grindy playstyle, because like I said, no classes can outgrind you in the typical classic setting. Of course, things might be really bursty now. You know, it may be that you know, grindy builds are just long gone. That would kind of make me sad, but like in a way. But if things is all about burst, then paladins get extremely strong in that, because you just bubble their burst, and if they can't survive your burst, then you just have an automatic I win button on a 5-minute cooldown. So we'll leave this here. I just kind of wanted to cover that because I've been thinking about, you know, what things might look like at the 40 bracket and the 50 bracket, what kind of items and stuff. I would recommend just hopping into 60 upgrades and looking around at stuff, seeing what you might want to eventually farm. And some things like different paladin specs really just depends on the gear that you need. Like if you happen to be like leveling with your group of friends or playing a lot with them and you're just kind of stuck healing, and you go this route and you're just getting stam int gear, some spell power gear along the way anyway, you know, you might kind of just be forced into this Shakaden play style, which, again, like I said, is pretty fine. Then if you're tanking and you're just getting a lot of like stamina gear and stuff, you can easily just say, okay, well, I'm going to swap over to this for PvP. You know, get me a nice two-hander and just go ham. Or if you are PvEing Ret, just playing it up, this is a pretty easy swap into for Retribution PvP. Generally speaking, in PvE, you do have to get Consecration for the added damage. I don't know if that's still going to be like a required thing. You're going to be spending so much more mana on Divine Storm and Exorcism. I don't know if you want another thing that actually does cost quite a bit of mana in Consecration. But you can maybe just go out there and PvP a bit in your regular Retribution DPS build. But you are kind of lacking the extra survivability of the armor and blocking and stuff here that I never really liked in PvP. I never really cared much for taking Consecration in PvP besides Shakaden or or Holy Reckoning, because you don't have the mana to cast it at all in PvP. Like if you're casting it as a Retribution, you're really setting yourself up for failure. You need to be very aware of what you're casting and why as Ret, because you do not have that mana pool starting out. Once you get like tier 2 and you have a decent set that's got, you know, strength, stam, and end on it, it's not so bad. But starting out, it's really rough when you first get to 60. So I would just say be acutely aware of what you're spending your mana on. That you kind of just want to go for these bursts and stuff, not just be spamming seals and judgments on cooldown and stuff like that. So I'll leave it there. Of course, like once the season actually starts and we're playing, I'll be uploading plenty of videos of playing different specs when I have different gears to try them out. And we'll just see kind of how it plays out. I do have this itch that I want to tank in Season of Discovery. And we'll just see how that kind of lines up with what gear and stuff and what specs that I can come up with to play around with. So stay tuned for those. You know, drop me a like and subscribe. I've got quite a few people now watching my videos, more than I thought would in just like a week of doing this. You know, some of my videos have 50-60 views on them. If you guys out there are watching this stuff, I'd appreciate it if you could help me out. Give me a like, maybe a subscription if you feel like joining along for the Season of Discovery. So thank you, and I'll catch you next time.